Fine! Hey guys, YaroShien here, and I'm assuming just based off of how you can detect my mood and the title of this video, I am going to explain some of my thoughts, especially when it came down to Season 2 of Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon or DanMachi. Man, this season... I mean, I don't think it was a bad season. I just think it was rushed, and you can end the video right there if you really wanted to. You got my opinions. You're only here to talk about DanMachi and watch me talk about DanMachi, but that's pretty much it. So you can go ahead, click off this video. You don't have to watch anything else. Goodbye. Okay, so for the actual people that are here to stick around, thank you for giving me your time. So when it came down to Season 2, the things that I was excited for was explicitly the Familiar War arc and mostly the next arc that's going to be in Season 3. I wasn't too keen on the Ishtar Arc, mainly because it was really got into things that I wasn't exactly excited about, especially when it came down to the sense of, well, prostitution and saving people from, you know, a woman that was basically raping people. I won't say that it was a bad arc. I'm very glad that Haruhime got to escape from her environment, and the way that it kind of built this brand new story that a lot of people end up trying to avoid. There are certain aspects that I just wasn't too keen about, and for a lot of people, they say that there was a lot less dynamic when it came to the manga or the light novel when the art was introduced, to the key visuals with Belle punching Aisha, I believe. I just wasn't that kind of person. The kind of thing that really bothered me was the pacing of the arcs and the way that the story was being told. And this is a common complaint. A lot of people seem to have a problem with this show was how fast it was going. However, it is much like a bridging. You are cramming multiple things that are happening over the course of several chapters into about 4 or 5 episodes per arc. Hell, even the whole Ares thing felt like it was a little bit rushed, especially, you know, after episode 10 and 11, it almost just got thrown in at the last second. And I'm also very glad about the story that it did tell, but it also felt like some of the character development was kind of left to the wayside. As somebody that has read the visual novels and just following with its story, I feel like some of the character development, especially for some, that I felt like got a lot of character development and then they just kind of skimmed over it. Especially for the Familiar War arc, something that I really did enjoy. It was the biggest fact that Hestia actually seemed competent in this arc. She really had things down to a T. She had a plan. She knew what she was doing. She made teams. She knew who she was going to be working with. And as soon as the Ishtar arc had begun, it felt like all that was thrown out the window. There was this huge heartfelt moment while they were all kind of in the same bathhouse and they were kind of just listening in on Belle talking about his friends and how much it meant to him and the fact that people were kind of joining the cause. And then it felt like all of that just got pushed off to the wayside as soon as the Ishtar arc began. One of the biggest things that I really do enjoy about Hestia in specific is her actual maturity and growth when her family begins to grow and expand. It feels like they kind of cut back on that in order to have her remain the same kind of characteristic that we knew and understood back in Season 1. Which to me is a slight problem. I don't really like that. I found that she is far more mature and that she has a bit more of a motherly vibe to her as she begins to kind of be more protective of everyone, especially Belle, but she begins to see her familia and her family as somebody that's important to her, as things that are important to her, as people that are important. And that begins to kind of waver to the wayside when it comes back around to the concept and the idea that she just needs to remain the same from Season 1. It feels like there was little to no character development past the Familiar War arc, and then as soon as the last few episodes came around, it all came to light somehow, but it was completely avoided during the last arc. Now, as much as I want to, sit here and bitch about Hestia, it doesn't disregard any of the other characters that also didn't get their character development. I am very glad that Lily got a lot of character development, especially in the Familiar War arc, because it showed that we were able to get a little bit of resolve from the Soma family situation and how she was able to leave, how she was able to kind of overcome something that she felt like she was too weak to do, but she did it anyways and she succeeded, which is a great underdog story in my opinion. Is that an underdog story? Is it? I feel like it kind of is. Mainly because it's just, you know, the doggy nature of her abilities. You're listening to an idiot. I just want to remind all of you that. Also, we're able to see that Welf is coming out of his shell. He's kind of just growing up as well. He's getting over the fact that he doesn't have to abide by the legacy, but he still has the skills of his legacy, which allows him to make magical weapons, which is something that a lot of people really like. So he develops magical weapons and he is using it during the Familiar War arc, especially with Ryu, who even used it against her own kind. Which also begs the question, there was a huge amount of lore that was kind of just dropped there and then left there and then never discussed ever again. I really do enjoy Makoto coming into the Familia, which is something that I really wanted to talk about because she ends up having a huge piece of the story, especially in the Ishtar arc, because of her presence. And it allowed the Familia, especially Hestia's Familia, to kind of interact with that immediate issue that was being brought up to them. I won't talk about Haruhime, especially in this video. I might do it in another video, maybe any analysis, depending on what you guys want. What kind of is important to me is that I want to see the main story kind of play out. A lot of the stuff that ends up happening off to the side is generally something that bothers me, especially in anime, when we are not focusing on the main characters or the main arc that is going on, and when it diverges away from the characters that I wish to follow, it kind of makes me bored and I don't want to know anything else aside from the main things that are happening. I know I mentioned earlier in this video how there was a huge drop of lore when it came to Ryu's race, the elf race, and magical weapons, but I'm not going to sit here and ultimately care about that if the main party isn't invested into that situation. I'm not sure if anybody else would agree with me on this, but that is kind of how I feel whenever we talk about, you know, should we follow a character, or, you know, is the storyline so poorly written? Do I like season 2? Yes, I like it a lot. Are there things that I'm upset about? Oh, definitely. I really want to be able to be sure that whenever I am watching content, especially when I'm following the media of itself long before the actual events have happened in animation form, I want to feel invested in the actual visual representation. It is very close to the book tellings of this story, but there is a lot of things I feel like, especially when it comes to character development, that they are still holding on to things because they are afraid from moving on from it. Hestia being the biggest example, and sometimes I would even say Bell being the other bigger example. As we are watching Bell grow, it feels like he's still holding on to this level of naivety instead of actually learning from his immediate surroundings. I will admit, these last 2 episodes, it seems like that they were very keen on making sure that the very nurturing aspect of Hestia and the naivety of Bell is kind of being put off, and they are actually dragging in what was being developed in the past 2 arcs. I'm very glad that they're doing that, but sometimes that is about 5 to 6 episodes too late. Oh, also, by the way, if I sound different, this is mainly because I had a recent change in microphones. In case you guys don't know, I had a microphone break a long time ago earlier this year. This time around, I was using a Rode mic that I had gotten from my studio, and so right now, I am recording on a Shure SM7B. I want to know, do you guys actually want to see the microphone in frame, or would you just like to only see my face in frame? Okay, I think that's enough talking. I think we've done enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for, you know, listening to me rant about some of my feelings, especially when it came to season 2. So, that being said, hopefully I will see you all in the next video. Laters.